How did Silicon Valley become the technological center of the world? The name Silicon Valley refers to a region in Northern California, located in the southern part of the San Francisco Bay Area. But why silicon? Silicon is a chemical element with a very special property. It's a semiconductor, meaning it can conduct electricity under certain conditions. It is also one of the most common elements on the planet, often found in sand. This sand can be turned into wafers like this one, and using specialized lithography machinery, we can print microscopic chips onto the wafers. The chips get packaged and placed in essentially every electronic device you own, from coffee machines through smartphones all the way to massive data centers, where they process your questionable web queries and AI image requests. But the Valley's technological roots can be traced back to long before the times of chips and silicon. Don't worry, I won't bore you with the history of the Wild West, I just need to set up some context. You see, everyone thinks Silicon Valley started with a computer. It didn't. It started with military contracts. The San Francisco Bay Area had long been a major site of United States Navy research and technology. The first US radio station was started in 1909 by Charles Herrold in San Jose, and over the next decade, the world's first global radio communication system was developed in Palo Alto to coordinate naval fleets. But given that you found your way to this channel, I assume you are more interested in computer technologies, and so am I. To understand how Silicon Valley became the heart of computer research and development, we have to introduce a crucial institution that helped shape this process: Stanford University. Most innovative technologies come directly from universities. This statement is as true today as it was 80 years ago. And when it comes to universities, not many had as much impact on the trajectory of technology as Stanford. A key figure in this development was Frederick Terman, the dean of the School of Engineering from 1946, who actively encouraged faculty staff and graduate students to start their own companies, right there in California, instead of moving to the East Coast. Bear in mind, back then, the East Coast, not the West Coast, was the go-to place for tech founders. New York, Boston, and Washington DC had world-class research laboratories such as Bell Labs and leading tech companies such as IBM. California was largely seen as an agricultural backbone of the country, so Terman urging his students to base their companies there was radical at the time. He was the initiator of the Stanford Industrial Park, where high-tech companies could lease office spaces to work on their innovations. Terman was responsible for overseeing the development of such companies as Lockheed Corporation, Kodak, and Hewlett-Packard, the last one being considered the symbolic founder of Silicon Valley. You see, before HP was making printers that never work when you actually need them to, they were once the most innovative and respected company in the world. And it all started in a garage at 367 Addison Avenue in Palo Alto, just a few miles of Stanford grounds. In 1937, 25-year-old David Dave Packard visited William Bill Hewlett, and the two started working on products together after being encouraged by Terman. For the first decade of operations, they mainly produced audio oscillators, with one of their earliest clients being Walt Disney Studios. HP would eventually move to semiconductor devices and became the largest personal computer manufacturer in the world, but only after a massive shift occurred in the industry. A shift caused by a group of engineers who decided to abandon one of the most important inventors in history. As you might know, before computers ran on tiny microchips, they were room-sized machines made of magnetic relays or bulky and slow vacuum tubes. In 1947, John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley invented the world's first transistor, while working at the aforementioned Bell Labs in New Jersey. That first transistor, known as a point-contact transistor, was very different from transistors used today. A point-contact transistor was a current-controlled device, relying on the physical contact of metal wires on germanium, a chemical element which is also a semiconductor but with worse thermal properties compared to silicon. Modern transistors, however, are voltage-controlled and are much more efficient. The three men were later awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery, but before that happened, intense conflict arose in the team. Shockley wasn't very happy that Brattain and Bardeen were credited with the physical creation of the device, feeling he was the true mastermind. After several patent disputes, the group disbanded, and Shockley later left Bell Labs and traveled to Mountain View, California to live closer to his aging mother. This is where he started Shockley Semiconductor Laboratory. But his East Coast problems traveled with him to the West. As already mentioned, the original transistor was made from germanium, but Shockley believed silicon was the superior material. He attempted to create a highly complex silicon version, but failed after multiple attempts, as the design was considerably more difficult to build. Furthermore, his company was also facing significant difficulties because of his character. Shockley had an explosive personality. He was ego-driven and his management style was terrible. In one infamous incident, a company secretary suffered a minor cut on her finger. Shockley's paranoia took over as he was convinced it was malicious sabotage, and he literally forced his staff to take lie detector tests to find the culprit. Fed up with the awful work atmosphere, 8 of his most competent scientists decided to leave the firm in 1957. Shockley furiously referred to them as the Traitorous Eight. So, who were these 8 men? Well, they would go on to completely revolutionize the world of computers. Led by Robert Noyce and Gordon Moore, they secured venture capital and founded Fairchild Semiconductor. There, Noyce helped co-invent the integrated circuit which enabled electronics miniaturization. The Traitorous Eight eventually went on to found their own massive companies, among them Intel and AMD. By the 1970s, computer culture was advancing rapidly. The tech made its way out of military labs and into the hands of hobbyists and everyday users, thanks to early kits like the Altair 8800, the first commercially successful personal computer. As you can see, it looked nothing like modern computers. This was soon to change, thanks to a very important institution that helped shape the way we actually use computers: the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, or PARC for short. While Intel built the brain of the computer, Xerox built its body. It was here that such inventions as the Ethernet, the graphical user interface, and the computer mouse were invented. Their work indirectly led to the founding of such companies as Adobe, Cisco, Microsoft, and a small computer company from Palo Alto. You might have heard about them. Let me give you a tip. Apple Computer. In 1979, Steve Jobs toured PARC, and it gave him the inspiration to utilize the GUI and computer mouse in the early Apple computers. This famously led to beef with Bill Gates, whom Jobs criticized for copying the Mac interface for the Windows operating system. Gates famously responded, "No, Steve, I think it's more like we both have a rich neighbor named Xerox, and you broke in to steal the TV set, but you found out I'd been there first, and you said, hey, that's not fair, I wanted to steal the TV set." When we are on the topic of Apple, we gotta go back in time a little, as their success story is what paved the way for other big tech companies in the Valley. Before Wozniak and Jobs founded Apple, they would attend the Homebrew Computer Club. The very first meeting was held in March 1975 in Gordon French's garage in Menlo Park. While Jobs was more of a business guy, Wozniak was a pure tinkerer with a deep understanding of electronics. Before building computers, he made blue boxes, devices that allowed users to bypass paid routing and make free long-distance calls. He once used his device to call the Vatican, pretending to be Henry Kissinger and request a meeting with the Pope. These Homebrew Computer Club meetings led Jobs and Wozniak to build their own hardware in a garage on Crisp Drive in Los Altos, California. And so, Apple Computer was founded. Their first product, the Apple I, was basically just a motherboard. You had to bring your own keyboard, monitor, and a power supply. The second version, Apple II, was much more refined, and it is widely regarded as one of the most important personal computers of all time, as it popularized home computing and influenced software development. Even with that initial success, it took years of intense work and product launches, some successful and others not so much, for Apple to become the leading company of Silicon Valley, all while facing fierce competition from established giants like IBM. But in December 1980, Apple went public with a market cap of $1.7 billion. It was the largest initial public offering since Ford Motor Company in 1956. Overnight, the IPO created over 300 millionaires, completely rewriting the financial model of the Valley. It proved to Wall Street that computers were no longer just a niche hobby. Instead, they were the most profitable industry on Earth. In the late 90s, venture capitalists threw millions at any company with a .com in its name. The problem was, these companies had barely any revenue. When the bubble finally burst in the year 2000, trillions of dollars vanished. Companies evaporated overnight. Office buildings emptied out, and it looked like the golden age of Silicon Valley was dead. But after the turmoil, a few companies emerged to change the way we use the internet forever. One of them was a company founded in September 1998 by 2 Stanford PhD students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. By the late 90s, the internet was a chaotic, unsearchable mess. Yahoo and Excite were failing to organize it. Page and Brin invented an algorithm called PageRank, which judged the website's value based on how many other sites linked to it, and built a search engine based on it. They called it Google. Initially, they were working out of a garage, because of course they were, which they rented for $1,700 from a woman named Susan Wojcicki, who became Google's 16th employee. We will come back to her a bit later, as she plays a very important role in shaping the internet to what it is today. At the turn of the millennium, as the prominence of the internet rose, the valley shifted from selling hardware products to selling software and services. All that software required skilled software engineers. And this is where Scrimba comes in, the sponsor of today's video. Scrimba is an online platform which doesn't just teach you how to write code, but how to actually think like a programmer. It does that through practical project-based exercises, which you complete in their custom-made IDE that combines video and the code editor seamlessly in your browser. The best part is, Scrimba offers many entirely free courses for you to get started, but if you'd like to unlock all courses and pro paths, use my link to get a 20% discount. If we want to understand the DNA of Silicon Valley at the turn of the millennium, we have to look at a company that barely survived the dot-com crash. In the late 90s, an online payment startup called Confinity, co-founded by Peter Thiel, merged with an online bank founded by a young Elon Musk called X.com. Together, they formed PayPal. Eventually, PayPal was bought by eBay for $1.5 billion. The founders and early employees walked away incredibly wealthy. This group became famously known as the PayPal Mafia. Instead of retiring, they took their payout and became the ultimate venture capitalists. Musk, Thiel, Reid Hoffman, Max Levchin and others went on to found Tesla, SpaceX, LinkedIn and Palantir. They also founded the early stages of Facebook, Yelp and Airbnb. Furthermore, a group of ex-PayPal engineers composed of Steve Chen and Chad Hurley and Javed Karim would use the money acquired from the eBay deal to build an online video dating platform. Think of it as Tinder, but with videos running on 2005 Adobe Flash web infrastructure. The guys faced a lot of difficulty in finding enough users willing to upload videos, even after they offered women $100 awards for posting. That's when they decided to move away from the dating platform idea and change the model to allow all types of videos. That website was called YouTube, the very platform you are watching this video on right now. Speaking of which, now is the perfect time to subscribe, as 98% of people watching my videos are still not subscribed, and it would mean a lot to me if we could change that proportion a bit. A year after its founding, Susan Wojcicki, the one that was renting her garage as initial Google offices, strongly advised Google's board to purchase this rapidly growing, yet wildly unprofitable video startup. They bought it in 2006 for $1.6 billion.
Hi YouTube, this is Chad and Steve, we're the co-founders of the site, and we just want to say thank you. Today we have some exciting news for you. We've been acquired by Google.
To make YouTube profitable, Google brought ads to the site, which turned it from a broke cat video platform into a money-printing cat video platform. Just last year, YouTube made $40.4 billion from ads alone. Okay, but why am I talking about this? Because the emergence of YouTube and its business model signaled another shift in the industry. The Valley was no longer just selling products and software. It was monopolizing human attention. This was further fueled by the rapid popularization of smartphones. The original iPhone, first showcased by Steve Jobs in 2007, became the first multi-touch phone. Soon, everyone had a miniature computer in their pocket with access to the internet and a camera. This opened a completely new market for software products, such as social media apps. In 2010, Instagram was released on App Store and it gathered 1 million registered users in 2 months. Today, Silicon Valley, as well as the whole world, has entered the era of artificial intelligence. As user data became the new oil, the Valley shifted to massive server farms. Companies like OpenAI, Google and Anthropic are pushing the boundaries of what machines can do and cause a global memory shortage. In turn, the wealth generated in the Bay Area has skyrocketed into the tens of trillions, and even shoe companies are pivoting to AI. Startups get founded almost every day, and the rate of progress seems so rapid that it is hard to track. But there is a final, darker side to this evolution. Silicon Valley is the center of innovation and technology, while at the same time it features the starkest wealth inequality on the planet. The top 10% of households in Silicon Valley own 75% of the region's wealth. The median price for a single-family home is hovering around $2 million. The very technology built to connect the world has created a system where the teachers, service workers, and even the young engineers themselves can barely afford to live. So the question isn't just what Silicon Valley will invent next. It's whether it can sustain itself. My name is Jacob, this was Codolences. Thank you so much for watching, please consider subscribing, and once again, thanks to Scrimba for sponsoring the video. Check them out using the link in the description or in the pinned comment.